Is it? Okay. All right. So, the other day I was just on Twitter and thinking about some stuff, and I'm a big, big time movie buff, and I tend to analyze the characters deeply, you know, and I love a good villain, and it got me to thinking. I'm like, who was the best villain of all time for a movie I've seen? And the basis on which I uh, rank villains is number one, who's the most manipulative. Number two, who did the most damage to their victims. Number three, their motive. Uh, Number four, I don't know, this is probably weird, but who had like these, sinister mannerisms throughout the movie, that something that, made you just look at this person like, damn. And number five is probably my favorite. Uh, just how entertaining and also how much that character stuck with you with that actors portraying that particular villain of the work, whether it's their previous work from what you saw them be this villain or their later work. And I have 10, and it took me a long time to compile this list, and I really, it's so many more that I can say is more than 10, but you know, it's just, it's just, I don't know. These are just like the 10 that I thought were fucking fantastic. Um, Number 10, I'm gonna go from 10 to 1. And keep in mind, this is my opinion. Don't really give a damn about, who you might think is a more of a villain or who is not really a villain and this, and that. I don't give a damn. I mean, you can offer your opinion and, whatever. But like I said, these are mine. You can have your own. But number 10. And the reason why this character is number 10 is because um it just depends on how you look at her. Some would say she was a hero, but it was a turning point in which I realized, oh, this is kind of dark. Um, Number 10 would be Uma Thurman's great portrayal of Beatrix Kiddo, aka the Bride, in the Kill Bill series. And why do I say that she's a great villain? And why I ranked her so low. Now, I do understand she had one of her motives was for revenge. But keep in mind, in the first film, she killed I can't remember what Vivica A. Fox's code name was, but she killed she killed that little girl's mom right in front of her and then told her on some real G shit, just told her, and I don't know exactly what she said, but you know, when you're grown, come see me and we can do something about this. You can get your revenge. Come see me. Like, that's some crazy shit. Like, you come home from school and you think you're about to get you a nice little little bowl of kabooms, and and all of a sudden your mom got a damn knife in her chest, and you're pissed off, and you see her, this person that just killed your mother, and she's telling you that, little bitch, you don't have the fortitude to fuck with me right now. But when you get grown, even though I'm probably like 40 years older than you, when you ready, I'm gonna come see about me. And I thought that was some gangster shit. And then when she gouged out what's her name? Daryl Hannah. Bitch already had one eye. And she just fucking took the bitch's eye out. And she didn't even really have to do anything. That was probably one of her least energy draining kills that she had. And she just gouged the bitch eye out and left her in there with a fucking poisonous snake. So that's some fucked up shit. Um, yeah. And not only that, she fucking scalped the bitch. Like, who the fuck scalps people? Who does that? uh, then she fucking killed her daughter's father with the fucking 5 finger palm that shit and tried to be remorseful after it and just thought it was some good shit. And the thing about villains is that depends on how you look at it. You know she was just trying to get revenge. They tried to kill her. They took her daughter away from her. But you know when you dig deep into any villain's backstory, they all had good intentions, but somewhere along the line, shit just went wrong, and shit happened, and they just turned into a motherfucker. Anyway, number 9. This is another person who originally I didn't think of him as a villain, but going over the the film and things he said and did, I realized like, oh, dude's really fucked up. He might have had reason and good intentions, but it's fucked up. And that would be probably Robin Williams' greatest performance of all time. Was it Psy? What the shit? Psy something. Anyway, in 1 Hour Photo. You haven't seen 1 Hour Photo. This guy, pretty lonely, pathetic guy, and he worked at this pharmacy. He developed pictures. This is way back in the day when you had to get the disposable camera and you had to turn it in, and they would drop it in some liquid, and you come back an hour later or so, and you had your photographs and all that. But yeah, he ended up developing like this obsession with this family that would come in. It was a mother, a father, and a son, and he developed like this obsession, and he longed to belong to that family. And in the course of him developing all their filming and getting to know them and all that, he found out that the father was having an affair on the mom, and that just pissed him off because in his mind that was his family, and this guy was ruining his family. So he started stalking and all this shit, and it's some creepy shit. It's really some creepy shit. You feel bad for him because eventually throughout the movie you find out that he was a victim of well, like alluded to it, that his childhood was pretty fucked up, and he had his father kind of had him involved in some child pornography type shit, and he was just like a lonely guy, and he didn't want his family to be destroyed, and yeah, so it was great, and to me, I don't really think he really had um, really many sinister mannerisms. It was just how calm, and it's almost like that line in that movie, "This Is the End," when Jonah Hill was talking about Jay Baruchel, and he was like, uh, no, Jay Baruchel was talking about Jonah Hill, and he was like, "Oh, he's nice," and he's like, "Oh no, serial killers are that nice." He's just this real nice guy that you will probably see, at the grocery store that you probably strike up a conversation with, and then in the back of your mind, like, this motherfucker weird, you know. But yeah. All right. Anyway, number 8 would be uh the great Cameron Giles as Rico in Paid in Full. Now, I understand this movie wasn't an accurate portrayal of those guys. I think he was supposed to be a guy originally. The actual person in real life name was Alpo. It was like Alpo, AZ, and Mitch or something like that. Drug dealers in Harlem during the crack epidemic in the mid '80s, and the other two characters were they were drug dealers kind of by force. It wasn't really any other option for them to do it. I don't think they really enjoyed the bad things that came with it. They enjoyed, the making the money and having this popularity and things like that. But when it came to that real shit, like having to kill somebody or hurt somebody, they didn't enjoy that. But Rico, Cameron's character, really fucking enjoyed that. He might have been very sociopathic looking back on it. Um, he just didn't care. He felt at any moment you disrespected him, it could be the slightest thing, just so as you say something wrong, in broad daylight, he'll pull out his gun and just shoot you in the ass. That actually happened on the movie. Shoot you in the ass. Beat up anybody. He was a real flashy guy. Um, Ended up fucking killing his best friend Mitch, over I think it was like 14 keys of coke, and he wanted to go and become the man in DC, and he was just a cold-blooded killer, and it didn't seem to really affect him. And when AZ or Ace, whatever in the movie, he got shot in the head and robbed and all that, everybody else was like, oh my God, he got shot. Meanwhile, I thought something that was so great. This goes back to the sinister mannerisms. While everybody's, showing compassion and concern, and Ace, he's recovering from his gunshot wounds. He's talking about how he doesn't want to be in the drug game anymore because he damn near lost his life. And, while he's telling this story, Rico is just, Cameron is just eating chips like, whatever. That part right there was some dope, sinister shit to let you know, like, this dude just, violence didn't phase him. Like, it was nothing to him. And even when it came down to him killing his best friend Mitch, his best friend was trying to raise money because his little brother had been kidnapped, and he knew this, and that was the whole purpose of them meeting up, trying to get these 14 keys of coke to move, to make money, to pay off this ransom, to get this guy's little brother back. And he saw that as an opportunity to just, come up. He's like, fuck it. I don't give a fuck about your life. I don't give a fuck about your little brother's life. It's about me. And yeah, I thought, damn, like, Cameron, I've seen other shit and it doesn't compare. Like, he was really into this character and it stuck with me for a long time. Um, wasn't really that manipulative. He just, if you didn't, he made everything happen the way he wanted it to happen. He didn't have to do little small things to make it happen. If you were in his way or you did anything, he just fucking killed you, and that was it. So, yeah. Um. Oh, this motherfucker. Number 7. I don't give a fuck. He's a fucking villain. In every movie I've seen him in, and fuck what I would say about the sinister mannerisms and motive and manipulating. Um, Michael Beach in any damn movie I've seen him in, namely Soul Food, Waiting to Exhale. What's that movie? First Sunday. Uh, Shit, it doesn't even matter. You know, let's talk about it. Okay, Soul Food. He was the second husband of Vanessa Williams' character. He was a lawyer, I believe, who wanted to just forget, that he was a successful lawyer and he wanted to be in an R&B group. So he took out all their money from their savings and used that to pay for studio time, and that caused some conflict with him and his wife, Vanessa Williams' character. And at the time, Vanessa Williams' character's cousin was staying with them temporarily. And what does this motherfucker do? He fucks her cousin, some adulterous shit, and he just just did that shit, and that was fucked up. And then I think probably the worst of the worst was Wait and Exhale. He was married to Angela Bassett for 11 years. He was a stock business, some type of successful shit, and he was very controlling. Him and Angela Bassett were married for 11 years and had two children. They lived in Arizona, and New Year's Eve, he decides that he tells her as she's getting ready to go to a party, and so she thought that he doesn't want to go to the party with her because he's going with his mistress, and that he was leaving Angela for his mistress. And not only that, not only was he a cheating motherfucker, he told he had all this money. She was the damn secretary. He kept her from starting her own catering business, and as she said, being the background to his foreground. So that made her financially dependent on him. And he they lived in Arizona. He had all this property. He owned a vineyard and all this and that. And the kids went to private school, which was probably some ridiculous amount of money. And they had a mortgage. And he told her, "I gave you the house, now sell it." When she asked him, "How are your kids supposed to eat? How are we going to live?" He was giving her like $5,000 a month at the time. And he was just an asshole. He just wanted to hurt her even more than he had already done. And because of that, I will never see it for Michael Beach. I don't care if I don't give a fuck. It's gonna be fuck Michael Beach forever, forever, because of those fucking roles. And in First Sunday, he was like stealing money from a church. Just a shiesty ass nigga. Um, see, that's number six. Number six is funny because when this movie came out, I was in high school, and when you're in high school and it's always that teenage drama. And when I saw it, it resonated with me because I was going through pretty much the same shit. And the character of fucking Regina George, played by Rachel McAdams in Mean Girls, one of by far probably, if I actually ranked it just based off most manipulative alone, she would probably be top three, if not number two. Um, just a fucking spoiled bitch, just the girl. Everybody knew the girl she went to high school with that just had everything handed to her. She was the prettiest, the most popular, the so well liked, and all this and that. But you knew her deep down, and you knew she was just like this shitty person. And she did a lot of damage. It wasn't just her belittling the plastics. She was torturing the whole goddamn school plus the teachers. And yeah. And the only reason I rank her so low is because it was hard to tell whether she was just a privileged girl, because she had her parents wrapped around her finger too. It's hard to tell whether she was just a product of her environment. She was just privileged and had everything handed to her, and that's just how it goes. Or was she like genuinely a fucked up person? But yeah. And it was funny because right after that, or maybe at the same time, I can't remember, The Notebook came out. And it was so hard watching The Notebook, seeing her be the polar opposite of Regina George. Like, you see her as like this Allie, as this sweet and just compassionate and just this ingenue. And it just fucked me up. And until this day, you know, that was whatever amount of years ago. Rachel McAdams will always be Regina George to me. And yeah, let's see. Well, number six. Number six by far was probably the most interesting and underrated, and that would be Alonzo Harris, portrayed by the great Denzel Washington in Training Day. Um, I was, the film lover in me was amazed by how uh calculated he was and how it seemed as if those entire, I guess, 24 hours that he was gonna have with what's his name, Ethan Hawke, like he had that shit planned in his mind, like every minute down to the very, I guess, to the just the climactic point of the movie, up until, he didn't think that the shit was gonna switch like that, but every step, was planned, all because, he beat up what the Russians or some shit and had to give them a certain amount of money. It it was just so fucking dope. And uh I wish we could have gotten like a prequel just to see the extent of the damage that he had actually done to his victims. Like we just saw the shit that he did in one day. Imagine, I forgot what they said, he was like what, 10, 15 years in the sheriff's department, whatever the fuck he was in. And just think about the way he had it with the street people and other people that was on the force with him, how he had them tied up in his ways. Oh god, my hair. I just thought that shit was so dope. Um, his sinister mannerisms, something that I love. I liked how when it came to a point where, you can tell he was moving his chess pieces to try to set Ethan Hawke up to do this and make it seem like he had a choice. He would just look at him and he would say something. And whatever the fuck his character's name was, irrelevant. Whatever he said, he was like, "You're so fucking stupid. You really falling for this shit." Like it was just too easy for him. Like that shit was so dope. And even though I'm a huge Denzel Washington fan, my personal favorite Denzel Washington movie is Malcolm X. But Training Day sticks out more to me than Malcolm X, even though I like Malcolm X way better. Training Day really sticks out to me because it just, he really sold it like as this almost, I don't know, it shit was just dope and it just stuck with me. And I wouldn't say I hated him too much afterwards. I was just like, oh shit, stay on my toes when you're around this nigga. Yeah, but Denzel definitely deserved that Oscar. I really don't understand why people were so upset. Like, oh, he had to be a crooked cop to win an Oscar. It's bigger than that. If you really watch that shit and just watch the character and see how you can tell that Denzel was locked into it. Like he was not Denzel Washington. He was legit Alonzo Harris. He was this cop, and this was like an episode of Cops, and we were just watching it, and this is really his day to day, and he was really doing this shit. And I thought that shit was amazing. Um, Number four. Ooh, okay. This is probably gonna throw everything off, but Scar from Lion King. Yeah, the cartoon. That was the I remember when we got our first VCR. That was like what, 94, 95. That was the first VHS my mom purchased for us. And that was probably my first introduction into an actual villain, because I was watching kid shit. Even though Lion King is still some kid shit, it was kind of jovial and just, you had somebody that was kind of mean, it was like, but Scar was a different type of motherfucker. Talk about manipulative. I loved how he preyed on Simba's naivety, whatever. Simba was naive, fuck it, and he used that to his advantage to gain Simba's trust. And I love how it was almost kind of like, how they say when a dictator comes into power, it's usually when the country is at its lowest point, and this person, this charismatic person, comes and kind of dangles like a little bit of hope, like, listen, you've been marginalized by these motherfuckers. I'm the good guy. I'm gonna help you. We're gonna get to the top together. Fuck everybody else. And how he was able to get the hyenas to do his dirty work, and he used that to ascend to power. And he really, that shit was dope. That shit was deep for a fucking Disney movie, and I was like 4 or 5, maybe 6. I can't remember what year it came out, but I caught that shit. I was like, damn. And to me, I wouldn't say he had many victims, but the biggest thing he did that was damaging was killing Mufasa and having Simba live with the guilt of thinking he was responsible for his father's death. I just thought that was just very, very fucked up. Yeah, he had the lions and the pride starving once he took in power, but they were grown as lionesses, and they were hungry, whatever. But having to go from a cub to an adult, I don't know what the time frame was from when he was away to when he finally came back. But Simba really believed it was his fault, and he didn't know any better. So that's some fucked up shit. And his motive was he just wanted fucking power. That was it. He didn't want to change shit. He didn't, he just wanted to be king. That was it. It wasn't revenge. It was just like, fuck Mufasa. I deserve to be king. Kind of remind me of y'all president. Anyway, um, his sinister mannerisms from the time he got on the screen until his ass got tossed off that fucking cliff were great. The motherfucker, you know, was that? Yeah, his ass dangling. You know, most animals just fucking kill whatever and eat it, but this motherfucker just like playing with a damn rat and just like, fucking with it, eat it, fucking sicko. Um, he really didn't really hide his sinister ways too much. He I kind of it's kind of crazy because I identify with Scar a lot. How the things he would say and how he would say, oh goody, like, yeah, you remind me. Yeah, he yeah, and yeah, the whole long live the king, doing all that shit. Just some dope shit. And even though it was a cartoon, I can't look at Jeremy Irons and not think Scar. And I it just stuck with me. And like I said, that's one of the reasons. That's how I base great villains. How much that shit sticks with you. He pretty much qualified Scar, even though I ranked him with number 4. Scar definitely is probably mm, probably the only one that really probably gets high ratings on all 5 of those. Uh, I guess reasons why I would rank him as a good villain. Um, Only reason why I would probably bring him down to 4 because it's a fucking cartoon. So in my mind, I knew this shit wasn't real. So yeah, a little reasoning. Anyway, number 3. Not sure many people have seen this movie. I don't think it was that successful. Um, I barely remember when it came out in theaters, but I do remember watching it on HBO. And I remember I watched it. I think I was about 12 or 13 when I saw it. I can't remember the character's name. Was it Hugh? Anyway, Josh Hartnett in O. Um, um, it's like a modern day adaptation of the play Othello, and he, wow, um, definitely an underappreciated, underrated movie. Um, Especially with Josh Hartnett's character. Um, let's get into about the manipulation. This motherfucker. I don't know whether I should start with the manipulation aspect or the motive, because they were fucking wow. Um, well, fuck. I'll get into the motive first. That would explain the manipulation. They were at this prep school in South Carolina, I believe. His father was the basketball coach, and he played on the basketball team. And he clearly was a kid that just wanted his dad's approval. And there was this star athlete. I think he was the only black guy that was played by Mekhi Phifer. Hey, Mekhi Phifer's on here twice. Paid in full in this. Okay. Um. Yeah, he was this black the star athlete. One, I think probably the token black kid at the school, and his the basketball coach, which is Josh Hartnett's father. I think his name was Hugo in the movie, I believe. And he's getting all this attention that he wants from his father, and then the guy is getting it, and not only is he getting the attention, he can't live up to being as good as a basketball player as O is, so that's another thing. And not only that, it seems like O has everything that Hugo wants. And what he does is, you know, he figures out what his weakness is and how to take this guy down. And he plants a seed into O's mind that his girlfriend Desi, played by Julia Stiles, was cheating on him with one of their mutual friends, and he worked him up so much to the point where O started uh it was affecting his mental state. It was messing with him on the basketball court, and he just couldn't get out of his mind. Every time he was around Hugo, he was literally like whispering things in his ear, like, "Did you see what Desi did?" He was just right there all the time, just constantly, without really any valid proof. It was just like small things that would happen. And he played everybody. Everybody was just a piece to him for him to take down this guy. And ultimately he O couldn't take it anymore, and he they conspired this plan to kill Desi, Julia Stiles' character, and blame it on the guy that he tried to say that she was cheating on him with. And the shit backfired, and ultimately it resulted in the death of a guy that had a crush on Desi, Desi's roommate slash Hugo's girlfriend. Um, oh, I think that was it. But yeah, that was his motive, and the way he manipulated that shit was so smooth. Like, it's just, it wasn't any blatant shit. It was very, very subtle but effective, kind of like a drop of sesame oil. If you ever cook with sesame oil, you know that one drop will just do whatever you need to do. And that shit was crafted in. The reason why I think it was his the sinister mannerism, because he really, during that time, it was a lot of school shootings and things going on. Most of them were perpetrated by the young white teenage guys who, you know outwardly they didn't look like they were like killers, or they looked like, somebody that you would see that be on TRL at the time. And Josh Hartnett, he was one of those teen actors at the time. Well, he might have been like 20 something, but he's one of those young actors. And it was just like he really was into it. Like his eyes to me is what stick out the most. His eyes and his whole delivery of his lines were just so fucking dope, and it just really sold it in. I can't say I've watched too many other Josh Hartnett movies since then, but it's funny because when we got our first DVD player, um, the first movie that we ever got on DVD was Pearl Harbor, and he was in it. And I remember watching it and seeing him be this good guy. I'm like, no, motherfucker, Hugo, you fuck these people over. And yeah, really, really good movie. Now, these next two is probably the most difficult for me because I go back and forth with who was more fucked up, and it changes every time I think I landed on an answer. But for the sake of making this video, I'm going to get into it. Number two, Allison Williams in Get Out. Now, I went to the movies about twice this year, I think. Yeah, I went to the movies twice this year. And Get Out was the first movie I saw in the year. It was the only movie that I was 100% fully interested in. I remember when the trailer dropped, it was like October 2016. Freaked me the fuck out. Gave me a nightmare. I liked the marketing. That was one good thing that sold me about it. And I'm gonna get into why Allison, aka Rose, and Get Out was a great villain. But I'm gonna talk about how I got into it. The marketing was great because the trailer was a red herring in its own. Because to me, I thought I had the plot figured out. Like to me, I thought like it was just like white people programming black people to be slaves forever or some shit. But I was wrong as fuck. But I had never seen Allison Williams before in my life. And to me, she was like some unknown actress, and that's what made it so great. But went to the movies to see it. I think me and my sister went to go see it that Friday it came out in February. I can't remember which day. And I'm watching this movie, and because the trailer, was kind of vague. You kind of had an idea. You felt like they gave away the movie in the trailer, but you really didn't know. And I loved how they built up the suspense leading to the big reveal. And the biggest, to really understand how I felt like she was a great villain, you had to have seen the movie more than once. On first watch, you wouldn't think of her as the villain. But when you watch it the second time, and anytime you watch it anytime after that, it gets creepier and creepier and creepier. I was trusting this bitch the entire movie from the time she was introduced on the screen up until the moment she said, "No, I can't give you kids right there." Bruh, that shit fucked me up. And what I really loved the most was the mannerisms. That probably ranked higher because she was so lively and just this most innocent looking person. And when the reveal came on, it was like, and I can't get the keys right back. She tied her hair back and she just became like this different person. I was like, God damn, that's some good acting. Um, Most manipulative, she was able to keep Chris there throughout the entire thing. She really held it all together, despite, you know, him having his apprehensions about everything that was going on. And even after the reveal came out and she his friend Rod called his phone, and she had the voice. That's another thing that's creepy. She had the voice of the good Rose, with the facial expression of the rogue Rose, and that shit was fucking amazing. Um, she definitely, since we don't really know her backstory, she uh, I can't really say the most damage she did to her victims. We only know about the amount of pictures that she had, but we really don't know. And we know, okay, yes, this is very fucked up. She really needs people in to get their bodies taken and this and that. But, to me, the reason why I would rank her number two is because, the sinister mannerisms and the impact the character and the entertainment of the character. It's like I see pictures of her now, or I'll, just see a random interview with her, and I can't get that shit out of my head. And that to me is what acting for me is all about. Like, I don't want to look at you as this person. I want to think of you as whatever whatever character. I want that shit to stick with me. So, Allison, creepy bitch. Mhm. Number one, this movie. Number one, I'm just going to say, number one, Sarah Michelle Gellar in Cruel Intentions playing Catherine. Wow. First of all, I love how, her and just like Josh Hartnett's character in O, and kind of like Alonzo in Training Day, were so calculated and manipulative. It was almost as if they literally had some type of foresight, and they knew exactly from every second to every detail of what their plan was, their motive, how the shit was gonna go. Like, the shit was fucking executed flawlessly. Um, Definitely the most manipulative, because she played everybody, and I try to not to get into no mental diagnosis with her, but she was fucked up. Um, Definitely did some serious damage to every single person that she came in contact with in the movie. Every single person. She fucked up everybody. And her motive, to me, she said that her motive was to I guess make Sebastian pull away from Annette, because he was really in love with her, and she was just going to threaten his reputation. But to me, I felt like she was just doing this shit just because she could, and she got some sort of satisfaction from it. That was probably, to me, the only time she felt anything. She was always coked out of her mind or drunk or trying to fuck this one and that one, and that wasn't fulfilling her thrills, and she just was, because she could do it. Um, she really didn't really have any sinister mannerisms, but Sarah Michelle Gellar, she had this tone, this, I wouldn't say it was bitchy. It was like, I'm better than you. I'm smarter than you. I guess that would make her a malignant narcissist. Like, I think that would best describe her. Yeah. Um, Definitely one of the most entertaining. I didn't watch Buffy Vampire Slayer. I was first introduced to Sarah Michelle Gellar through I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I was a big fan of the Scooby Doo movies too, but this shit stays with me, and it's just was fucking awesome. And let's see what else about Sarah Michelle Gellar. Um, the line, what is she say? I'm the Marsha fucking Brady of the Upper East Side, and sometimes I want to kill myself. That pretty much just sums up that character, and it was great. And I feel like Cruel Intentions doesn't get the respect it deserves. Because I mean, yes, I feel like Sarah Michelle Gellar stood out and definitely to me it was Oscar worthy. But the acting of the cast and the story and how it all came together was greatly executed. And they were relatively young when they do that, probably like early to mid 20s, and you know, it was great. Yeah, but that was my list of my top 10 villains. I mean, who knows? Tomorrow I might, or later I might think of a movie and it could change and I decide to take one out. But as of this very moment, that's who I, that is my opinion. Um, if you want to let me know what you think, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you have some other people that you feel like are great villains, let me know. Yeah, so it's just my 2 cents. So I'm probably about to. I'm probably actually about to watch Get Out, and yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So, all right.